Hey, before we jump in, if you like what you hear on the podcast, check out our free Substack newsletter, The Sober Friends Dispatch. It's a weekly dose of real talk, stories from the sober life, and a little extra support between episodes. Go to soberfriendspod.substack.com and subscribe. That's soberfriendspod.substack.com. All right, let's get into the show. Hey, welcome to the Sober Friends Podcast. My name is Matt J. Over there on the other side of the monitor is Steve. What's up, Steve?
Good morning, Matt.
Good morning. This is the place to be if you are sober curious, if you're already on the journey, if you just need a little bit of a pump up in your sobriety, you are in the right place. And you know who often needs the pump up in sobriety? Us. Two of us. That's why we do this.
Yeah.
If you happen to listen and you enjoy this, good for you, as Beetlejuice would say, but it really is for us. We were talking a little bit of health stuff here, and I will share. I'll get it. I'll get around to it because, all right. So we're going to talk about gratitude. I'm gonna skip the lead here. Gratitude. November is Gratitude Month, and I wasn't feeling very grateful this week. So this was a hard week, Steve. Stuff that we've talked about in the past. There was a layoff this week at work. These have happened. It seems that in my company, it happens every year around this time. We have lost customers in a segment for 10 straight quarters, which is not good because this product that we're hemorrhaging is a core product. So that's not good. There also was whole structures of the company that were collapsed. But when I started hearing about who got let go, the depth and the breadth of this layoff, I was not prepared for. It was a lot of people. A lot of people I knew, a lot of people I worked with, a lot of people I like. And it was jarring to me. And the other thing that was jarring is my department wasn't touched at all. As a matter of fact, we were like the only department that not only wasn't there. I know of other departments that like, okay, we were not touched, but they broke up our team and we're moving here, moving there. We weren't moved around. We weren't touched. If anything, our senior vice president said, because of this, our team is a little bit more important. On top of that, we have had pressure that there is a customer-facing team that has moved away from the customer experience. The new CEO decided to listen into a couple calls, and he got to 2 calls, and he listened to about a minute apiece. And he was so infuriated by the experience that we are now involved to teach them how to go back to a customer-focused interaction as opposed to transactional. And it's like, you need to do this, and you got a week to plan this. And it's got to be great, and it's got to make an impact. On top of everything else you're doing. It's a great thing, but it's stressful.
Yeah.
Friday, I blew up. Friday was Halloween. My youngest daughter had 4 of her friends sleep over, and they were loud, and there was a plumbing issue where the air tube in my well was sucking in rainwater. We got a lot of rain. And the well head can fill up with rainwater. And then there's this air tube that gets the well stuff. But anyways, it was pulling in some rainwater, and I had to run it. It hasn't happened again. But every once in a while, we get to this point where the rainwater gets too high on the water table, and it's brown. And it's like, okay, if I run the tub, I'll run it off, and it gets below that air tube, and we're good. I should go to the wellhead and pull it out, but it hasn't happened again. We should be fine. My wife closed the pantry door that was broken. I told her not to. She closed it. Couldn't get into the pantry. I was like, I did everything I could to tell people not to do this, and she did everything wrong. And so I was enraged. I went to bed thinking of ways. I was thinking of Star Wars. And I was thinking, at that moment, if I was Luke Skywalker and the Emperor was taunting me, I would so quickly turn to the dark side, I would be trying to kill everyone and everything. I wanted my lightsaber out and the Force lightning going at everyone. I was thinking of the people I could get back at. I was so angry. I was tired, and the dogs kept this up because it's Halloween. It's that low-key holiday where the dogs don't like it. Everybody knows 4th of July because the bottle rockets and stuff are going off. But people coming onto our lawn all night knocking on the door, dogs don't like that. One of them's nervous. He was freaked out, and he was up my ass the whole time. And I probably shouldn't have watched A House Full of Dynamite while I was in that mood. So if you haven't seen A House Full of Dynamite on Netflix, watch it. It is so good. It's up my alley, the type of films. A lot of people don't like it because there is vagueness to it. And it's not, you don't get we in America love the wrapped up in a bow ending. This is not a satisfying film. But if it's going to feel realistic, it can't be. But my God, the acting in this was amazing. And then I watched the film on Rob Ford, who is all this stuff. I shouldn't have watched this stuff because it was mayhem. I was so angry. And then I'm going to play this for you. There's a TikToker, very small account this guy has. Mark Scarborough. His TikTok account is @MarkScarboroughWrites. He is an English professor, and he does a podcast on English literature. But they also found pancreatic cancer on him really, really early. And so he had a Whipple procedure, which is, take your finger, go around your belly, and that's what they take out. And if they can get it early enough, this is curative. But it is a mutilation of your insides. It's a hard surgery. And he has documented his progress. And just as I was at my angriest, I came across this, and let me play you what he had to say that made me think differently.
I'm out for a long walk. After digestive surgery, you have to go for long walks, and I'm here with Bruce and Nosh. We're out walking in the late fall chill. Great day. But I wanted to say something about that practice of gratitude. There's a block to that. We're waiting to hear from the world expert at Sloan Kettering about what next steps are for me. And I found one of the biggest blocks to gratitude is this weird mixture of hope and waiting. Hope and waiting together, they make this weird paralysis. And it makes me, well, not so grateful. But I can say this. I'm grateful this morning. I'm grateful that I'm with Nosh. I'm grateful that I'm with Bruce. I'm grateful that I'm in New England. I'm grateful that I can't go for a mile-long walk. So I guess there is some gratitude even in all this hope and waiting.
And then in my mood, I'm thinking,
fuck you, piece of shit.
It's the last thing I wanted to hear. But he's right. And he's not always super positive. He's trying to pump himself up there a lot. But he's right. He's got deep shit going on. But I hear him in how he talks about his husband. And this husband of his is a keeper. Like, he showed that, like, he made all these homemade stocks for their apartment at the hospital so that Mark had something to eat that he could digest. I mean, think about that, of having, you got a spouse who is doing all this stuff for you, and like really good, like all these soups and broths that this guy made. I'm like, motherfucker, that is something to be grateful for.
Mm. Absolutely. That's a great topic. It's a great topic. We were talking a little bit before we started recording, and I said I was reaching out to another friend in the program, and she was just checking in to see how I was doing, how my wife was doing. And my response to her, amongst other things, was there seems to be a lot of lack of gratitude across this whole house. I wasn't just everywhere. So it's a great topic to talk about. And and it is nice. And part of it is, it's funny you say that, right? You got a spouse. Part of my struggle with it is I'm the spouse doing that kind of stuff right now.
Yeah.
And it's easy for me to look and go, oh, I'm not finding enough gratitude coming back my way. And then me to get pissed off, which is sort of what happened. And I have plenty of things to be grateful for, including my relationship with my wife and all those things. But it's difficult at times, right? And when we started thinking about this, the first thing I thought about when you mentioned this topic was, first of all, right, it's November, so that's a big topic in our AA program, Gratitude Month, and but also that part in the Big Book, which talks about before you know it, worldly clamors came in and sort of blocked out my connection to my higher power, right? And that's what made me think, right? It's like what happens is, and it's the same thing like the little piece there, like what happens is worldly clamors come in, like, Halloween and well issues and the dogs and not sleep, like all of those things come in and they block us out from our connection to whatever keeps us in that settled state, whether it's a faith of a higher power, whatever you might want to call it. And I notice that happens to me quite often, and I have to, and the nice thing is I'm aware of that today. Like I could see it happening, and sometimes like I'm immediately on it and I immediately fix it, and sometimes I'll sit in it too long, and probably been sitting in it too long for this week. But I've been busy too, and I've had some other things and that have kept me out of the house for a while, and I've been really, really busy, and we'll be busy right through Election Day, right through Tuesday. So, but that's what I thought about is like that gratitude. It's hard to live in a state of gratitude all the time, right? It is. It's impossible, not even hard, for most people. I don't know. It's great to think about, and you hear that little clip on that podcast, and again, you start thinking, well, I didn't have to have a Whipple procedure, right?
Yep.
My life is pretty good, and so it's also one of the reasons why I always talk about why I go to AA meetings, just so that I could hear others. It's not that I rejoice in other people's suffering, but when I hear other people's struggles and all, it makes me realize, how good I have it. And it just resets where I am on my gratitude meter. And hopefully it's like, okay, things aren't that bad.
Sometimes at a meeting, it's the people who have less than me that teach me gratitude. Our buddy Mike the Fish has a lot less than we do. A lot less. I think he's a lot more grateful than I am. He appreciates every smidgen of what he does have, and he has almost a childlike devotion to God. And he's got his own health issues. He's an older gentleman. But I look at somebody like that, doesn't have his own car, relies on rides, but for the most part, he's a pretty happy guy. He's grateful to see everybody at the meeting. He's sober. He's been sober a long time, and he has crazy stories, but there are times that I feel like he's a lot more accepting of life than I am. And I don't have half of his issues. We'll be right back.
Brittany here, host of Recovery Cast, Recovery.com's podcast where every week we interview influential people about their real lived addiction and mental health recovery stories. In a world that too often focuses on people's worst moments, we want to celebrate the joy found in recovery and the life that's possible on the other side of getting help. Whether you're in recovery, curious about it, or just want to hear inspirational stories from people like Zach Clark, Allison Stoner, Hillary Phelps, and so many more, Recovery Cast was made for you. Recovery Cast. Listen and subscribe now.
Yeah, it's always one of those things, Mike, I ran into Mike at a meeting years ago now, probably 6 or 7 before COVID, a Sunday night meeting. And it was him and a buddy used to go to meetings all the time. Him and his buddy Ed, and anyway, and I got to know Mike, and Mike doesn't drive, so he needs rides everywhere. And I've been I've helped him out. Plus, Mike helps me out. He does some landscaping stuff. He'll help me do my leave, like this time of year, especially. He'll come over, help me do my leaves and stuff. And it is one of those things where I see it too. I watch how much gratitude Mike has, to the point of I try to help him out. Like Mike doesn't have much, right? And Mike will say, "Hey, I need a ride so I can get some gift cards." And matter of fact, the first year that I really knew him and we got working together, he gave me a $50 gift card for Christmas. And I'm like, "Mike, you don't need to give me Christmas presents." So I cut him right off. I'm like, "I don't need that, right? Like, you don't have enough money to be giving me something." But I see him doing this for other people who are good to him, right? And that's what, like you said, he has gratitude. Like, well, this person does a lot for me. You know, like his old boss, who he complains about all the time. But his old boss invites him over for holidays.
Yes.
Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter, right? So it gives him a place to go on those holidays. So as much as he claimed about how this guy was a jerk when he worked for him, and so he'll do a lot of things. And Mike is great too. Like Mike goes to those things. And he shows up with flowers. He shows up with something. Like he just has such gratitude for what he has.
He's a class act. Always.
And I look at it, and I always say I've learned a lot from him, right? And this is the other thing about our program. We talk about how, we mix with people we would never mix with, and this is the perfect example, right? And I just see how much Mike has taught me. Now, there are certain things about Mike that drive me nuts, because I spend a lot of time with him. But you peel that away, you realize underneath it all is a man who is completely grateful for all that he has, and he shows it on a regular basis. So it's really nice to be around people like that.
I realize when Mike makes me crazy about something, it's a me issue. Like I'm gonna share something that's a me issue. He has these like peanut butter crackers that he eats at meetings, and he lines them up like. It's like 3 in a row, and they're like perfectly lined up, always on a napkin. And when I see that, I want to go and smash them. I want to pulverize them because it's that unnecessary organization. That's a me issue, and it's a reminder when I'm thinking that of, you've got problems. This is not, for whatever reason, that he lines these crackers up 3 in a row in this perfect line. Like almost like part of a dice. It's a me problem. And he reminds me of those things, that it's not him, it's how I interpret the world. And I'm like, I've got to be a better person. Let me tell you some things I have to be grateful of, outside of the fact that I do have this job where it seems like where everything is falling apart, we're still being needed. We got word this week or last week on our medical benefits that that our premiums are going up, which I understand. When you have health care and they say the premiums are going up, I never complain about that, because I do know the highest price of health care is expensive. It is a separate conversation. I have a lot of deep thoughts on health care. And they said people who are on GLP-1s for weight loss, the copay is going from $50 a month to $100. And I'm like, ooh. Now, I need to be grateful, because CVS, where I fill this prescription, puts a $25 coupon on. So $50 copay really is $25. $25, I can do that easily. Every other medication that I have doesn't cost me anything, because I have all generics. So going up to $100 with the $25 coupon, still $75. And I'm like, ugh. But then I think about the bullshit I went to get this medication that I qualified for. At my heaviest, in March 2020, it's not my heaviest, but March 2024, I weighed about 287 pounds. And on my own, I got down to about 249. And then I drifted back up over the holidays, back to 271. That's when I started Wegovy over the summer. And I was 237 this morning. There are a lot of people, most people, who can't get this on a prescription, and that if they're paying $200 at a compounded pharmacy, like that's a gift. And I'm going to probably end up paying $75 a month, and it's still worth it. The way it has changed how I look at food. Wegovy takes much longer than Zepbound to really kick in the mind and get the food noise down, and I was warned about that. But this was like the first week. It's like I need to be careful to remember to eat snacks during the day because I'll forget. And we had Chinese food last night, and I ate a normal proportion of General Tso's. Usually I get that, and I have to devour almost the entire little combination plate. And there is plenty left over for lunch today that I was able to stop, and I'm able to talk myself out. And I'm able to have a stick of sugar-free gum now, and that does it. And I am a huge believer in Wegovy and other things. We've done podcasts that I think this could be an addiction breaker. I'm going to get to a point where I need to go out. I had to buy new underwear. Small thing, but I didn't need to buy new underwear because it's starting to swim on me. I need to go buy a suit. I need to go buy some new sneakers. And these will be kind of expensive things, but it's for a good reason, and we have the money to do it. It's so freaking easy to lose sight of that. And then yes, I need to have anxiety about this thing, but the thing I'm able to afford, I should take for granted and discount it.
Yeah, that is the hard thing. That's why I said it's hard to live in that state of gratitude all the time. It's the same thing with me, and I do a pretty good job at that nowadays on that big stuff. Like I know that I live in a place where financially I don't have a lot of worries. I also don't have I'm not a big spender type of guy. Like I don't I just don't buy a lot of stuff. Like I don't have a lot of materialistic things. Just don't, for the most part, draw me in. My neighbor just bought himself a 1974 Vet. And I guess it's something that he's wanted. And it's a red Vet, and I saw he bought it. I know. And I looked at it, I thought about that. I'm like I have no interest in doing something like that, right? I have no interest in going out. There was a time I thought like I'd like to drive a BMW or something. But it's like I have no interest in spending my money that way. I drive an old 2012 car that's, a Camry with about 100,000 miles on it, dented up from being in parking lots and stuff like that. Every once in a while, I think I should probably have it cleaned up because it's a good running car and all that. So spend some money on it. But I'm happy to drive that car, and I'll be happy to drive that car for another 10 years.
Yep.
Because it cost me very little in maintenance, cost me very little in taxes.
Insurance must be a drop in the bucket.
Right. So it's all those things, right? So anyway, so I don't have a lot of those things, right? So I have to remember, I was out, and we've talked about this before. You've talked about it. You mentioned it. Like I was out walking my dog in the woods yesterday and ran into a neighbor who's a fairly new neighbor. She's been living in the neighborhood for less than a year. And I run into her every once in a while. She's got a dog. And we were just talking about out there. It's just beautiful. It's a beautiful time of year to walk in the woods. It's cool, crisp. The dogs love it. And I told her yesterday, I'm like, sometimes I've been here for almost 23 years. I've been here. Like I lose perspective on how nice it is, because I run into a lot of people in the woods who have to drive their car with their dogs, park it somewhere, get out and walk in the woods. I walk out my back door and I'm there, right? And I lose perspective of how nice that is. Right? I mean, it's like it's there all the time that I forget how grateful that I need to be because I live in this place and I can afford to live in this place. And all of it's expensive, right? You live in an expensive town. I live in a town. My taxes are high. I get when I see people bitch about taxes being high. I get all that kind of stuff. I don't love them either, but it doesn't impact me all that much right now. That might change, right? That could change. So it really is. It's like I've said it to my wife before when we talked about gratitude. I'm like, gratitude's an action word, right? That's something we hear in the meetings all the time. And at first I was like, yeah. But now I get it today. Like it requires me to put in action, put in some effort to show that I'm grateful for stuff. And it's one of the things that I'm really, really conscious of now. Like I'm really trying to figure out how to give back. And I'm going to tell you a little story here. I might have talked about it on this podcast before, but anyway, I belong to a program in town where they collect food waste, which keeps it out of the waste, the regular garbage stream instead of going to landfills and stuff. And they recycle it. This company takes it and recycle it, and it goes to an energy plant somehow. So I do that. And there's these containers that use an app around town, and you go there and you open up the top of the container and you dump your food scrap in there. The one closest to me has always had problems, right? Mm-hmm. And about 3 or 4 months ago, I was frustrated with it, and I fired off an email to the person.
Sounds like you.
Right. Fired off an email to the person who runs it, and basically was like, I don't know why, doing my all bitching. And the email wasn't that bad. It really wasn't. But at the end of it, I said, I have one word of advice: do better.
Fucking bullshit! Right.
And I've told the story at my Friday night meeting. All the guys were shaking their heads because they know me. So I take Mike to a farmer's market in town. And who's there but the woman who runs that program? Trying to push that. And her name is Rebecca. And I walked up, and our program tells me that I need to be willing to make amends wherever possible. And I walked up to her, and I looked at her, and I'm like, "This is it, Steve." And I said, "Hi, Rebecca, I'm Steve. I do this program already. And I shot you off an email that I think I owe you an apology for." And she was like, "Oh, no, that thing frustrated me, blah, blah, blah." And here's the kicker, is that we have this program in town next Saturday. It's called Leave Something, Take Something. At the landfill, you could bring something there to get rid of, and people can go and pick it up. And she said, "Oh, I really need volunteers." And I went, "I need to volunteer for that. Like, that's my amends, right?" Yep. Now, I apologized. And she said, "Oh, I really need some help with this. If we don't get more volunteers." She wasn't asking me to help. But me, I just went there and went, "Oh, I need to do this." And I said, "I'm going to go home, check my schedule, make sure I got nothing going on. And if I have nothing going on, I'll email you and I'll give you some hours there." And that's what I'm going to do.
I'm sure she was like a lovely woman, too.
She was. Oh, yeah, absolutely. But that's what I need to do, right? So my point with that is that frees up the shit in me, right? That frees up that stuff. That's right. That angry guy that you were talking about, right? Mm-hmm. When I do that type of thing, like, "Ooh, I've got to fix this," all of a sudden I will start to relax inside. Will I love going over there next Saturday and doing it? I don't know. I like people. I'll run into a lot of different people. I'll probably bring a few things to drop off. But it just gives me that opportunity to clean up those worldly clamors. Yeah. Right? Clean those up, and then move on and do something positive and have some gratitude in action. So that's why I think to me, it's really, really important to get out there and do some stuff.
Mm-hmm. You can now, instead of complaining about that problem, you can be part of the solution. Yes, there is a problem at that station, but you can be part overall of a solution of what can be done to fix it. Mm-hmm. Fix it overall. Oh, I love that they have that. It reminds me, I've cleaned up one of my bins in the back for compost. I got to get another. We stopped composting the table scraps because I had a little holding container, and the flies are the little fruit bugs, but I need to get a new one with a better filter and do this again because I can get back to the compost bin. I had something to be grateful for. I hadn't gone in there because it got overgrown with these vines, and I killed the vines with Roundup, and I went back with my Sawzall and I cut the vines back so I can get into it, and I kind of rebuilt it. And I realized I hadn't been back there for a couple of years, and the compost that was back there was unbelievable. I'm digging and digging, and I'm going like under the surface of where I thought I should stop. And there's compost, like there's like a hole, a crater of, I had to stop. I couldn't get to where it looked like regular dirt. This dark brown, because of my red leaves, of this compost that I could just spread across the garden. I'm like, damn it, I'm going to have an awesome garden next year because I just let this stuff rot and rot and rot for multiple years. And I have more in other bins. But I'm like, this is a good thing. I got this going because also I had help from a neighbor. I've talked about this. I had help from a neighbor to help clean up my yard. I paid him. What I had to pay him was a fraction of what I do elsewhere. I built a bond in the neighborhood with a neighbor. This is a lot to think through. When I think the difference here is not you have all this bad stuff on, be grateful what you have. It's you have bad stuff, but the stuff you should be grateful for, you expect. It is just entitlement.
Yeah.
What you're entitled to, that's the danger.
Absolutely.
I take for granted what I have as opposed to be grateful for what I have.
No, that entitlement thing is really, really powerful, and it's something that I'm aware of. And I try not to do it. I do see it sometimes. It's something that I'll accuse my wife of. Saying that she, feels like she's entitled to certain things, which I don't. I certainly believe today that we're not entitled to much because we don't control much, honestly, right?
Nope.
So, but yeah, that is what happens, right? You just get so relaxed. Many of us do. I get so relaxed that I start to lose focus on what's important. And again, part of that for me is making sure that I'm out in the community. For me, out there, experiencing other people, and when I do that, I find that it puts all my stuff in perspective, right? Obviously, if I'm out there doing something, I was out doing some political stuff yesterday, knocking on doors, and I walked with a local politician who's a civil rights lawyer, and just having that time. Like I spent 2.5 hours with this guy. Never met him before, right? He's one of the local politicians in town. And just having that conversation of who he is, how he is, what he's done, like it's just incredible to have that experience, right? And so I bookend that with this guy who quit his job, right, and went and worked on a political campaign, in 2024. And I have that, and I have Mike, right? This is what I'm saying. I have that broad spectrum of people in my life. Where this guy is way above me, like I just totally a great guy, and I have Mike, who's a great guy in his own way, and for me to get out there and experience both of those things allows me to get out of myself and try to figure out like what am I grateful for, and a lot of it's simple stuff with me. I'm really am like I'm grateful for the simple things. So
yeah,
it's always a great topic.
Be part of the solution. Take some action. Yep. What hits with you? Matt@soberfriendspod.com. I haven't asked this in a while. I do not have the program. I used to use Chartable to look at the reviews for the podcast on Apple, but Chartable went out of business. And it's kind of hard. I think I need to go through and see who has left us 5-star reviews. But I'm always assuming it's been a while. So can you do me a favor and can you go to Apple and give us a 5-star review? Tell people that you like this. I'm going to go in and read them. I read the emails that come through. Although there's a lot going on between my ears, so I'll get to it when I get to it, but I will do it. Steve, thank you for being part of the show.
Matt, thank you for having me.
You're welcome. We'll see everybody next week. Bye, everybody.